All right, so we're reading this morning from Bhagavatam's first chapter of the third canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Rasvitya. Chapter 21 of the third canto begins the pastime of Devahuti and Kila, Moody. So we're just getting preliminaries of that. What was the last? Remember last week we talked about this pivotal chapter, chapter 20 of the third canto, shifting between pastime of Devahuti and Pranam, but before that was pastime. So Jai Vijay, Varaha. So now the chapter titles here are not very exciting. Chapter 20 was conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, and then we go to chapter 21, it's a conversation between Manu and Pranama. Are we in the right chapter?
22?
21. Yeah. So from one conversation to the next, not a really thrilling plot development. And at the same time, very foundational to the rest of the third canto. So let's read the first 13 verses of this chapter, if you would please.
21?
13 verses, 1 through 13. I'll just read the translation.
21?
21. Yeah.
Okay. Vidura said, the land of Swayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipful sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse.
So the previous chapter was this conversation discussing the creation, and the last personality mentioned is Swayambhuva Manu. Manus are sort of the universal managers. 14 in a day of Brahma. They're sort of like the temple commanders of the universe, and they're replaced periodically. So the current one is Swayambhuva Manu. All of these personalities have this job of filling up the universe. There's the Sarga, the preliminary creation of all the elements, and then the Visarga, the secondary creation, which Brahma and his assistants fill up the population. So Swayambhuva Manu is one of these progenitors also.
His great son, Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavrata, and Tatpa ruled the world, consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles.
The Priyavrata, the younger son, is the progenitor of the line of, I beg pardon, Uttanapad is the younger one. He's the progenitor of the line of Dhruva Maharaj. So a lot of the third and fourth canto have to do with the descendants of Uttanapada. And then the fifth canto, after Uttanapada retires, and Priyavrata, the elder brother who had chosen renunciation, he's approached by Narada Muni and Swayambhuva Manu also said, you please, although you've been renunciated, you please not get married. You need to continue to fill out the universe. So that begins the fifth canto, the descendants of Priyavrata. Okay, next.
Holy Brahmana, O sinless one, you have spoken of his daughter, known by the name Devahuti, as the wife of the sage Kardama, lord of created beings.
How many offspring did that great yogi beget through the princess? Was endowed with 8-fold perfection and yoga rituals. Oh, pray tell me this, for I am eager to hear it.
Kalakantha, just to let you know, today's chapter 22, but we can continue doing this.
Oh, we did it? Oh, I beg your pardon. This was last week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so,
Okay.
thank you for correcting me, I had us all prepared, that's all right. We're on chapter 22. Up chapter 21.
Still here.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I corrected you, and I don't know how I got that mixed up. So, is it text 6 today?
It's 1 through 14.
1 through 14, and then chapter 20, and then text 6 in the book. So,
Yes.
okay, I beg your pardon. So we've already read about how Pradama Muni had helped fill up the universe, and actually, they will be married and have 7 daughters who became wives of the great sages, and then finally his son Kapila. So this is a beautiful chapter. It's very appropriate for today. It's a big marriage of our Pradama Muni did yesterday. Okay. Okay, so let's start again here. Chapter on textbook.
Sri Maitreya said, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent, and the emperor, feeling modesty, addressed him as follows.
These are the prayers, right, that Pradama Muni has given his appreciation to Swami Buddha, and he's being referred to as the emperor. So, okay.
Manu replied, to expend himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma, the personified Veda, from his faith, created you, the Brahmanas, who are full of austerity, knowledge, and mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification.
For the protection of the Brahmanas, the silent-legged Supreme Being created us, the Kshatriyas, from the silent arms. Hence the Brahmanas are said to be his heart, and the Kshatriyas his arms.
That is why the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas protect each other as well as themselves. And the Lord himself, who is both the cause and effects, and is yet immutable, protects them from each other.
Now resolve all my doubts simply by meeting you, for your lordship has very kindly and clearly explained the duty of a king who desires to protect his subjects.
It is my good fortune that I have been able to see, for you cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind or controlled the senses. I am all the more fortunate to have touched with my hand the blessed dust.
I have fortunately been instructed by you, and thus great favor has been bestowed upon me. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your clear words.
O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by the affection for my daughter.
My daughter is a sister of prayer. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and calling. The moment she heard from the sage Narada, learning through experience, youth, and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon.
Therefore, please accept your chief performance. For I offer her with faith, and she is in every respect to be your wife and take charge of your household duties.
It's very interesting verse.
To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure.
To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable. So he's really like putting on the pressure. Even for one absolutely free of attachment like you, much less one who has addicted to sensual pleasure. So Swami was talking to this renounced Pradama. You really should accept my daughter as your wife. And you shouldn't deny this offer because it's come to you unsolicited, even if you're very detached. Go on. Listen to this, this is even heavier.
One who rejects an offering that comes of its own accord, but later begs a boon from a miser, thus loses his widespread reputation, and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others.
Has anyone ever experienced this? Like say somebody offers you something, sorry, no. And an hour later, you know something. Sorry, it's all gone through. Under crumbs. Yeah, the last verse.
Manu continued. O wise man, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept her hand, which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy.
So this is a very strong sales pitch. But it's why I'm moving on. It's very interesting. The previous chapter is all features the prayers of Cardinal Muni for Swami Vishnu, how much he appreciates them. On and on, he's telling them what a great soul he is. And Swami Vishnu very humbly says, oh, I don't really deserve all this praise. But anyway, you should marry my God. So text 6 is our focus today. Yeah. Nishyame Bhagavan Vishto Nishyame Bhagavan Vishto Durgasho Yapitatmanam Yapada Raja Sprishtam Krishna me Bhavata Shivam Nishyame Bhagavan Vishto Durgasho Yapitatmanam Yapada Raja Sprishtam Krishna me Bhavata Shivam Please chant.
Nishyame Bhagavan Drishto Darsho Yo Kritadmana Nishyapada Raja Sprishtam Krishna me Bhavata Shivam Nishyame Bhagavan Drishto Shoya Piratmana Krishna me Bhavata Shivam
Nishyame Bhagavan Vishnu Darsho Yogitatmanam Syapadaraja Prishtam Krishna me Bhavata Shivam
Anyone else? Students, please. Dishya, my good fortune, nay, my Bhagavan, Dishya is me, Durga, Parisi, of those who have not controlled senses. Dishya, my good fortune, just keep Krishna, this such shit out. Nay, my Bhagavan. It is my good fortune that I see you when you cannot reasonably be seen by persons with not subdued the mind and control the senses. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu from Delaware. Your son's name? Vasudev. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu has developed a wonderful yatra in Delaware for many, many years. Who's our local devotees? Some of the devotees who are here. Yeah. Yeah, his name is escaping my mind. I'm sure, but I mean, here in our community, it's, anyway, his name is escaping my mind. But one of your graduates. So thank you for coming. Good to see you.
So nice.
Thanks so much for your blessings. Please give them your blessings.
It's amazing. It's so wonderful. Thank you so much for
Amazing what you've done. Okay, so just a little note on this first. So Pradama spent chapter 21 is praising Swami Manu, and now Swami Manu is praising Pradama Muni. And saying, oh, it's my good fortune, it's my good fortune. No, you're telling us, no, it's my good fortune that I've been able to see you. You cannot easily be seen by persons who have not subdued the mind and senses. The saintly person does not just want to be available to everybody. You know, saying, I'm all the more fortunate to have touched with my head the blessed dust of your feet. So Swami Buddha is a grihasta, he's got children, Cardona is a renunciate, so he's offering his respects like that. And it's a Brahmin, Swami Buddha is one Kshatriya. So in this way, he is saying all of the ways in which Cardona, who just praised him up and down, is his superior. So this is beautiful quality of Vaishnava relationships. Right? Srila Prabhupada's report. I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
We just miss you so much.
And separation. Report. The perfection of transcendental life can be achieved simply by touching the holy dust of the lotus feet of a holy man. In the Bhagavatam, it is said, Mahat Padara Jo Ishekam, which means to be blessed by the holy dust of the lotus feet of a Mahat, a great devotee. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanas too, those who are great souls are under the spell of spiritual energy, and their symptom is that they fully engage in Krishna consciousness for the service of the Lord. Therefore, they are called Mahat. Unless one is fortunate enough to have the dust of the lotus feet of a Mahatma on one's head, there is no possibility of perfection in spiritual life. The Parampara system of disciplic succession is very important as a means of spiritual success. One becomes a Mahat by the grace of his Mahat spiritual master. If one takes shelter of the lotus feet of a great soul, there is every possibility of one's also becoming a great soul. When Maharaj Raghuvina asked Jada Bharat about his wonderful achievement of spiritual success, he replied to the king that spiritual success is not possible simply by following the rituals of religion, or simply by converting oneself into a sannyasi or offering sacrifices as recommended in the scriptures. These methods are undoubtedly helpful for spiritual realization, but the real effect is brought about by the grace of a Mahatma. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, it is clearly stated that simply by satisfying the spiritual master, one can achieve the supreme success in life, and in spite of executing all ritualistic performances, if one cannot satisfy the spiritual master, one has no access to spiritual perfection. Here the word apritatmanam is very significant. Atma means body, soul, or mind, and apritatma means the common man, who cannot control the senses or the mind. Because the common man is unable to control the senses and the mind, it is his duty to seek the shelter of a great soul or a great devotee of the Lord and just try to please him. That will make his life perfect. A common man cannot rise to the topmost stage of spiritual perfection simply by following the rituals and religious principles. He has to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and work under his direction faithfully and sincerely. Then he becomes perfect, without a doubt.
There was once a man who worked in a laundry at night, and he wanted to be a writer. So he worked in laundry at night to maintain himself and his wife, and then in the daytime he would write. They've sent manuscripts out to various publishers. All of them have been rejected. Big collection of rejection slips from various publishers. And so he had just completed a new novel, and he sent it around to these various publishers, and they all sent back rejection slips. And so just finally took the manuscript and threw it in the trash, just gave up. Of course, this was before computers, but the manuscript was like a big sheet of typewritten paper. So he threw it in the trash and just gave up. So his wife fished out this manuscript from the trash. And she remembered one publisher who had rejected his earlier work, but said something encouraging, like, keep at it. So she took the manuscript and sent it to that small publisher. And that publisher published the book. And that writer is named Stephen King. Anybody ever heard of Stephen King? Yeah. So, because he had someone who believed in him, he became empowered. He was able to manifest his powers. So similarly, in the Ramayana, we read about Hanuman. Hanuman was the son of the wind god, a very powerful little monkey. And he was so powerful that when he saw the sun, he thought, oh, there's a beautiful mango. I think I'll go grab the mango. So he was going to get the mango, and the sun god became nervous. And so he cursed Hanuman that you may have your powers, but you will forget that you have them. So for the rest of his life, Hanuman needed to be reminded about his great powers. For example, when the monkey army of Lord Ram was standing at the edge of the ocean, looking across the Lanka, Hanuman was saying, oh, how could we ever get there? How can we ever get our whole army across this strait? And Jambavan, with your gorilla, and the version read, and said, no, you can jump that easily. It's nothing for you. I said, no. Jambavan said, no, you can do it, you can do it. And then Hanuman jumped. So the point is that everybody needs the proper encouragement and support to bring out the innate powers. So in this exchange between Kardama Muni and Swami Manu, we see how first Kardama Muni expresses all his appreciation for Swami Manu. And now Manu is coming and expressing his appreciation for Kardama Muni, bringing out the power. This is a positive exchange, and it only exists in relationships. There was a self-help book that promised that if you read this book, all of your innate powers will be released. And chapter after chapter, there's 3 little words at the end of this book that will unlock the key to your empowerment. So when the devotee was scanning this book, and he just skipped ahead, 3 little words at the last chapter, I am God. So self-empowerment, no matter how grandiose it might seem, it is not the secret. Anyone remember The Secret from a few years ago? No. This was a big thing that you just meditate on what it is you want, and you make that fixation in your mind. Anything you want, you can have. So it's the secret of success. So all of these examples are there to show us that we can become self-empowered. Right? We need the empowerment given by others in a relationship. So then the question becomes, to whom do we turn for our empowerment? Where do we find this relationship? That is the question that really haunts everybody. world. Okay. So, see? Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the first paragraph in the purport about how perfection of transcendental life can be achieved simply by touching the holy dust of the lotus feet of a holy hand. The Bhagavatam said, Mahatpada Raja Vishekam, which means to be blessed by the holy dust of the lotus feet of the Mahat, great devotee. This is the way in which one becomes empowered by a more empowered person. In the case of Stephen King, well, this is why she believed in him. But in spiritual circles, to become spiritually empowered, you need the dust from the lotus feet of a great devotee. Hebrew Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sakha. Why about all of this about the feet? Why this foot fixation? It is very strange to people who don't understand personalism. But the idea is that when we approach a great person, we don't get in their face. You know, we approach their feet. We don't even look at their eyes. We just look at their feet. The feet are the part of the body that touches the ground. And this is the lowest part. So to approach a great person, we just start at the lowest position, not arrogantly at the top position. And when the Kurus were approached by Lord Balaram, Samba, the son of Krishna, had been kidnapped. And he was attempting to kidnap the daughter of the Yoda, Lakshmana. And so the Kurus had captured him. And so Balaram was coming to try to negotiate his release. And in spite of Balaram, they came out and said, "Oh, Balaram, you are such a great personality. But your family is like the shoes of the social body. And we've given them their land. We've given your family your land. How can you come and tell us to do something? Your family is inferior to ours." So Balaram is very diplomatic, but in this case, his diplomacy, his patience was exhausted. And said, all right, if you think that you're the social crown and we're the social shoes, then I will use my trusty plow. And he began to pull the capital of Hastinapur into the river. So the shoe is considered, the foot is considered the very lowest part, and therefore devotees who are respectful to great souls approach their feet. Just want to touch their feet. One Srila Prabhupada was in a large pandal in India, and the young Western disciples had never seen anything like this. But after he spoke, all of the pious Hindus present all wanted to touch his feet. And as he was walking through the crowd, he had a lot of disciples around him, keeping people away, because the tradition is if you touch the feet of a saintly person, then all of your karma gets transferred to that person. This is why people are very eager to touch the feet, right? What's that?
We can do it today with you.
You have no karma, I will touch your feet. So these crowds of swarms of people were trying to touch Prabhupada's feet, and the disciples were wondering what's going on. And so afterwards, Prabhupada said to them, "You're trying to touch my feet because I am free of sex desire." This was the extraordinary quality. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that a great soul is necessary for the touching the feet of a great soul is necessary for one to become a great soul. So this is my topic this morning. Do we want to be great souls, Mahatmas? How many of you in your childhood thought, when I grow up, I want to be a spiritual leader? Only Kunti. Pious Kunti. My good wife was raised in a Catholic family, in a strict Catholic family, and she, as a young girl, aspired to be a nun. But it's so peaceful in the convent. She go and visit. It's so peaceful here, so quiet, and she just wanted to be a nun. That would be great. So she was growing up in the Catholic schools. She started to see that all of her teachers who were nuns were so corrupt. By the time she was 13, she said, I want to be a nun. Became an atheist because of that. It wasn't until she met the devotees that she put it together years later. But the point is that we don't generally have this aspiration in life. Right? And yet here we find ourselves in Krishna consciousness, reading about such things. Those who are great souls, under the spell of the spiritual energy, fully engaged in Krishna consciousness for the service of the Lord. If one is fortunate enough to have the dust of the lotus feet of such a person on one's head, there's no possibility of perfection in spiritual life. So we come to Krishna consciousness with some interest in spiritual life, but not necessarily the interest in becoming a great soul. Right? We didn't sign up like football players will sign up in high school and they'll be recruited by the college because they want to make the NFL and make millions of dollars. So the whole thing is to become an NFL player, although very few actually make it. But that's the ambition of every kid playing football in the park. You don't approach Krishna consciousness like that. Right? There was a cartoon once in the New Yorker. So this is such a good one. The yogi is sitting there on top of the mountain with this long beard, and some scraggly man is crawling up the side of the mountain, coming to his plateau. And he says, when I was 25, I made my first million. When I was 35, I was president of 4 corporations. But now I've left it all behind. I've come here to you, and I want to become the best damn guru in the business. It's not why we take up Krishna consciousness. Why do we take up Krishna consciousness? There's 4 reasons given in Bhagavad Gita. What are those reasons? Distress. Number 1. Number 2.
Money.
More stress. What is stress? Number 3. Curiosity. Yes. And finally, wisdom. So in a materialistic society like ours, it does take wisdom to take up Krishna consciousness. It takes a degree of wisdom, at least a degree of wisdom to see that the ordinary course of life is not going to satisfy. It's just not going to do it. And so those 4 reasons generally combine most of us. But don't most of us see a little bit of each there? But my point is, we're coming to Krishna consciousness with the desire to relieve distress or to find out the absolute truth. Not coming in like an NFL aspirant. And yet, when we start pursuing Krishna consciousness, if we progress, if we stick to it, inevitably, the anartha nivritti takes place. The contaminations in our lives follow it. And the desire to serve Krishna becomes more and more focused. And then, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Kinshana, just automatically, the good qualities develop, saintly qualities develop. It's a byproduct. It's not our goal. But it is a byproduct of our practice. So in the 4th chapter of the Gita, there's this very interesting verse. Gita Raghavaya Krodas, Manmaya Mama. Krishna says that being completely free of attachment, fear, and anger, many great souls in the past have come to me. So in that purport, Prabhupada explains that, of course, attachment we understand. Okay, attachment is obviously mundane. And anger is generally mundane. But fear, What is that fear? Prabhupada explains that it's fear of a personal spiritual relationship. And relationship means identity. We don't really have an identity outside of relationships. So a fear of a personal spiritual identity is what keeps us from progressing. So in the early days of ISKCON, Prabhupada was speaking with poet Allen Ginsberg. He was amazed to see all these bohemians from the Lower East Side chanting Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada was talking to him. He said, yes. He said, I will make them all Brahmins. Ginsberg was skeptical. These materialistically, well, these bohemians. Okay, so the bohemians, the hippies, Prabhupada said they were detached, willing to be detached from their father's wealth. But they could not give up sex life. So somewhat detached, but also just essentially the same attachment, just with a different veneer. So he said, yes, I will make them Brahmins. I will make them sannyasis. Alan, who had been to India and had actually met sadhus, he was quite surprised. But yeah, this is what it means to be on the path of Krishna consciousness, that you will become a saintly person if you take shelter of a saintly person. It will happen. It's just inevitable. So what do we think when we think about this? Oh, I'm not qualified. I couldn't do this. I could not do that. I want to have a relationship with a saintly person. That I want. But as far as me becoming a saintly person, well, that's, I've got excuses coming out the wazoo. One becomes a Mahat by the grace of a Mahat spiritual master. If one takes shelter of the lotus feet of a great soul, there is every possibility of one's also becoming a great soul. It's sort of like an unwanted or unexpected outcome of a life in Krishna consciousness. Certainly unexpected. So my point this morning is please don't let it be an unwanted outcome. It doesn't mean being a sannyasi. It doesn't mean just being a preacher. It means keeping Krishna's pleasure as the center of your life. That's all. However that manifests in your life, it will be an individual affair. For example, Lord Chaitanya had a great devotee named Brian Gupta. Brian Gupta was a physician, and he offered to leave his practice and just join Lord Chaitanya. He is Dr. Krishna. Kulaveta Sridhar, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya. He had a little business selling banana cups and the other leaves. He could have just gone and be a brahmachari, but no, he would go and harass him for his banana leaves. Oh, you're charging me too much. So the point is, we don't have to change our position. In the prayers of Lord Brahman, the 10th canto, it says, just stay in the position you are, and add the hearing and chanting of Krishna in your life. So please don't be afraid to become a saintly person. We need saintly persons in all echelons of society. And this is actually how Christianity became the dominant religion in Europe. The Christians, at first they were, persecuted and considered very antisocial, very marginal, but they were persistent. They kept their practice. At the time, they were tolerated. And then they would get jobs in various facets of society. And the employers and the leaders could see these people have good character. They don't steal, they don't cheat, they're humble, they're cooperative. And so they get more and more responsible positions. Finally, after 350 years or so, it came to a point where the king, Constantine, recognized that, okay, these people have power in my society. So he converted himself. Although he made a bunch of conditions. We have to take this out and this out and this out. Otherwise, okay, we'll all be Christians. It's pretty much the Christianity that we have today. So the point is that being a devotee is not, or being a saintly person does not restrict us to a certain sphere of activities. That's all. It's quite internal. And there's no reason to fear it. In the course of becoming a saintly person, people will want your association. They'll want your guidance. And no formalities around it. They'll just want, they'll appreciate you. They'll recognize that you're different. They'll appreciate that you are not out to exploit them in some way, which is generally the default position in society. Srila Prabhupada in 1975 had this very moving experience. I remembered it all my life, almost 50 years now. He was talking about acharya, to be an acharya. So sometimes we hear like, okay, be a guru is one thing, and acharya is another. But really the words are more or less synonymous. He said, so we have how many acharyas in our movement? This was Mayapur. There were about 200 of us in the room, all with dysentery and mismatched socks. First time in India for most of us. And so how many acharyas do we have? 10,000? 10,000 will become 100,000. 100,000 will become 1 million. 1 million will be 10 million, and there will be no scarcity of acharyas. So we were uneducated, unprepared, so many ways. And yet Prabhupada saw the potential in us. This is one of the qualities of a great soul. He sees the potential in others. Like John Levon or Stephen King was. Sees the potential in others. Each one of us has the potential to influence the lives of many, many other people. In the course of our lives. Whether it's now or in 50 years, doesn't matter. The point is, being a devotee means being prepared to help others. That's all. When we understand this, then our lives start turning around. Instead of wanting respect from others, we want to give respect to others. Amanina Manadeva. And by that mood of seeing the good in others, recognizing when others are doing things right, appreciating, praising, offering respects, looking for good things in others, just by that change of mentality, we get out of our own heads, out of our own self-absorption. And that allows us to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. In other words, by appreciating the devotees, even if they're not Mahants yet, they're green mangoes. Still by appreciating, this is an amazing person who's even trying to follow the 4 regular principles. How rare is that? It's amazing, right? It's just amazing. So appreciating devotees, encouraging, just giving of oneself. This is the life of a devotee. And it's a beautiful life because it's free of the mental platform that haunts people in life. Just my old friend, just sent me a notice, a little book the other day, said that one of the benefits of being old, your whole life you're trying to be cool, but when you get old, you give up the pursuit of trying to be cool. And giving up the pursuit of trying to be cool is the essence of coolness. Yeah. So this is called the user's paradox. So you don't have to wait until you're old to give up being concerned so much about what other people think. Everybody is concerned what other people think of me. The devotee gets liberated by just saying, hey, I think you're great. Looking for the good in others. This is the benefit of seeing others as spiritual beings. It's the benefit of hearing and chanting. That it grows and grows as the years go by. So please know, at least this is a path, knowingly or not, that you are on. Becoming an acharya, a sadhu, a great soul, a mahant, which is not that big a deal. Prabhupada said there would be millions of them, so why not be one? with that, notice has been given, this class is over. All right, any comments, questions, Prasad's coming in, okay. Mike is just coming. And then the Acharya of Krishna, Bhakti House Philosophy.
I was wondering, here it's talking about how, touching the head to the feet, and oftentimes used in India. But what does it actually mean to touch? To actually get the dust of the feet of the mouth? Because oftentimes they touch all the time, but they don't advance in spiritual life.
Right. Prabhupada explains that later. To actually please the spiritual master is not to touch the feet as much as to touch the heart by service. It's we'll probably need some paper plates today.
Thank you, Prabhu. So many great points. You mentioned this fear of that we all have a fear of actually having an intimate relationship or a personal relationship, and I was just wondering if you could expound upon that. What is so scary for us?
Yeah, when we have relationships, we become exposed. Our own shortcomings become exposed. Well, yesterday there was a lot of talk about the marriage relationship, and this is very heavy because in a marriage, it starts off with so much hope, and then after a while, the reality sets in. This person has faults, and this person has faults. So then we're challenged to see, am I going to see the faults in this person, or am I committed to this relationship? So that's why we're afraid of a personal relationship, because it means commitment. It means exposing our faults and not hiding anymore. Right? And so we're just after that point about wanting the approval of others. We want to present a face of ourselves to the world that is a little bit different than what is really inside. So when we get to the point where we're no longer afraid to be who we are, this is a spiritual relationship. Many of us had this experience seeing Srila Prabhupada. I had this opportunity to be introduced to him in Chicago in 1975. And he looked at me. My mentor said this is Kalakantha. He looked at me. Many of my godbrothers said, God should say, looked like Prabhupada was looking right through me. I felt like I wish I could have just disappeared into the floor. I was such a fool, I was thinking, you see my faults, but I can't hide them. but his secretary certainly explained later, when Prabhupada would look at new disciples you're just meeting and say, okay, Krishna sent me this guy, how can I engage him in Krishna service? That's what he was saying. See? So I was afraid of that relationship, afraid of being exposed. But in fact, there was nothing but love and benevolence coming from the other side. If I had not been so stupid, I would have said, thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Said, Krishna consciousness is wonderful. Thank you for bringing it. I'm so happy. I could have said so many things. I was afraid of a personal spiritual relationship.
How do you forgive yourself?
It's unforgivable.
I can relate to that because when I first started coming here, I would never forget being around everybody and thinking to myself, oh man, and I ain't gonna lie, I was coming to top kid, I was pulling up though, consistently every morning, and I never forget thinking man, these people gonna feel like I'm weird, people gonna feel like I'm too corrupt, and I was scared to even do anything wrong because I was afraid that y'all were gonna be okay, you can leave now. And I definitely could relate when you said that. He said, how many acharyas are in the room? Y'all we're not even that qualified. There's so many times I've been feeling like that still right now. I'm not even qualified to do certain things. And I just love the fact that the devotees be giving me the opportunity to learn and do the cool stuff around here that I don't feel like I'm even worthy of doing. So yeah, I can relate that.
How many of that Alex is here?
Arriba!
It said that every sinner, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Yeah, so, and the Hebrew says, even if one is the most sinful of all sinners, one is situated in the lower chances of across the ocean. All right, any last, yes, the other Kalachari, like, yes.
Just had a question. So I was thinking, Krishna consciousness is so beautiful. Is there a secret to sustaining Krishna consciousness for life? Because we see, we come after a couple of years, we have doubts or not feeling the taste anymore, or so and so. So is there a simple secret to keeping that Krishna consciousness high forever?
Simple secret to keeping Krishna consciousness high forever. That one I don't know, because it will definitely go up and down. Not necessarily our desire to serve Krishna, just the vicissitudes of this world. Heavy things happen, unwanted things happen. Just, every life is a litany of disasters in this world. There's no exceptions. Look at Prabhupada's life, so many things. Yeah, Prabhupada had one son who went to college and he came back crazy. Prabhupada got the very best therapists and everything, and that son just wandered away. He was never seen again. He died a homeless person. His wife had no interest in supporting his missionary desires. Prabhupada was going to be a big businessman. He did business and he failed. So my point is that, if anything, the secret to success is to, as Winston Churchill said, success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. So if our purpose is pleasing Krishna, no matter what kind of situation we're in, we can always please Krishna in a simple way. So that's the secret. Stay in the present moment and try to please Krishna the best we can under these circumstances, however favorable or unfavorable. That's the GPS. You just have to be a little stubborn. Right? Are you stubborn?
Yes.
Okay. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, determined. Our mother used to say, if your father does it, it's determination. If you do it, it's stubbornness. So, just, if we've suffered enough in the material world, we will be stubborn about spiritual life, isn't it? We come to a point, I've had enough. I've had enough, and therefore I'm not leaving Krishna service. That alone, that's the purpose of the material world, to bring us to that point. It's not to enjoy it, it's to bring us to the point of, okay, I surrender. Is that right? Sorry if that is not as ethereal as you might have liked, or spiritual. It's just, if nothing else, that's the bottom line. And then gradually, as we read, the taste increases, where ruchi, asakti, bhava, prema. We're no longer driven by disgust of the material world. We're driven by the intoxicating joy of hearing and chanting. We don't have that. At least we can have the point. Okay, I'm not going back. Okay, are we ready to serve coffee? Yes, sir. Your name?
My name is Savion. So this is the first time I've ever been here. I've never heard of the term Krishna before. Can you please explain to me what that is?
Oh yes. Do you have about an hour or so? Say what?
Savion.
Xavier. Savion, okay, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. Are you a student?
Yeah.
Are you up?
No, I'm just doing a little bit of volunteering.
A little bit of
Volunteering.
volunteering, okay. What brought you here?
Well, I was just looking to volunteer, and I heard this was a place that I can volunteer at.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, well, awesome yourself, we appreciate it. So I'm going to defer that question to a more knowledgeable person who could explain to us Krishna. Okay, maybe over breakfast. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's God. God is a person, and we have a relationship with him. That's the gist of it. But that's advanced. What you're going to experience today, volunteering for Krishna, will be different than any other volunteering you've ever done. That's my proposal. Tell me if that happens, okay? All right.